Good evening, everyone. If you would please stand and join me in the pledge. I'd like to have a moment of silence for the following individuals. Eileen Robertson, a graduate of the North Syracuse Central School District. Eric Thames, a graduate of the North Syracuse Central School District. Donald Stipp, a graduate of the North Syracuse Central School District. Theodore Creasy, a graduate of the North Syracuse Central School District. And Jane Ryan, a graduate of the North Syracuse Central School District. Thank you. Our first presentation this evening is the North Syracuse Central School District Spelling Bee Recognition.
Can you hear me? Okay. Hi there. It's an honor to present about our spelling bee. It was an exciting day right before the holiday break. And we actually have 4 winners. So we normally present our top 3 winners, but we did have a tie for 3rd place. So I'm going to tell you the names, and we have one wonderful student with us tonight who we are so proud of, who is in that top 3. And we're so glad that Rosa is with us tonight. So our first winner of the spelling bee that is here is Rosa Heath. So congratulations. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thanks for being here tonight. All right, you can take a seat. Thanks so much. And Isaac Butterfield also was a winner of the spelling bee. Paul Lucasen and Keegan Mao. So thank you so much and congratulations to all of our North Syracuse students who participated. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have our special education audit presentation. So I'd like to welcome Rocco.
Right. Is it good? So thank you for having me tonight. I want to just first, say that I am very thankful and honored that I was selected to complete this audit. I want to thank Dr. Ward for his trust in me and doing this work. I can be pretty verbose, and there was a lot of information that was collected through this audit process, and I could go on for hours, I think, on this, but for the sake of time, I'm going to really try my best to summarize the key major points to the things that were discovered and my recommendations based off of that. I understand the board all received a copy of my audit report prior to this, and so if there's areas that you want me to address in more detail, or if there's an area that I had missed, please, I'm happy to discuss as much as you like with regards to this. So with that, we have how this audit kind of took place quickly. It started off with me meeting with Dr. Ward and getting from him a perspective on areas that might need focus here in North Syracuse. And from that meeting, these 4 focus areas were identified that are listed up on top. And that kind of led into where I directed the rest of the audit based on that and those focus areas. I went into next interviewing the leadership of North Syracuse. So I met with and interviewed all the building principals. And then I had also interviewed most directors, assistant superintendents, associate superintendents that have involvement to some capacity with special education. Based on my information from the administrative team, that led into focus group information. So I was able to have a focus group with all buildings, including the North Syracuse Early Education Program, where we had discussions about special education strengths and areas of need of improvement from their perspectives. And that really was a great insight. I want to really thank the staff of the North Syracuse School District for doing that. They did it on their own time after school hours and were really insightful, and I appreciated all that time. And then North Syracuse really helped to frame with me a thought exchange for the parents of the North Syracuse Central School District, where we were able to send out a survey to all the parents and ask for their feedback on their thoughts on how they can best support their child through the special education programs in North Syracuse. What areas do they see in need of improvement? And we got a great response rate from that. As you can see, 282 parents participated, and over 1,700 surveys were rated on. And lastly, I was able to collect information through different data points and artifacts, and included all of that information into my audit report. Okay, so this leads into what were the key findings from the audit. First, as you can see, the graphic up there, I got that data from the data.nyscd.gov, which is public information. It's report cards on how districts are doing in specific areas of special education. And here in North Syracuse, the most recent data reported on this shows that over 78% of students with disabilities in all the grade levels in North Syracuse are spending the majority of their day in general education settings, meaning over 80% of their day they're in general education. That's to be commended. That's really great. That shows a high commitment to inclusive supports for students with disabilities. You guys are doing a great job. But with that, there is some mixed messages and expectations on how that support is being provided to students in the general education setting. The IEPs are being written as being a consultant teacher direct service. However, staff are getting mixed expectations on how they should deliver it, like being more of a co-teaching type service. And those are two distinct differences there. It kind of is confusing for staff, and I think there could be made improvements with regards to that, which I'll get to. There are some inconsistencies noted in terms of kids, again, in this, kids that are being supported in general education settings, how are they being supported, but inconsistently from when they're at the elementary schools to when they go to the middle schools to when they go to the junior high schools and high school. And there should be some changes, like naturally, because elementary schools are very different than secondary buildings with schedules, but we still, I think it's important to keep the level of services and supports for students as consistent as possible during that. However, currently what's happening is there's decreases in service levels when kids go to the middle school, then they get increased when they go to the junior high school, and then it gets changed again when they go to the high school. And that creates some confusion and certainly some service shifts that I think should be looked at further. We noted that there's some rising recommendations for kids to be placed in special classes, particularly at the elementary level, like kids coming into just kindergarten for the first time, being recommended to be put into self-contained settings all day. And that is, I think the concern is, are we following least restrictive environment requirements, which is a part of the individuals. That's really not a part, but it's the emphasis of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, that we always look at least restrictive environments for students with disabilities. And with the placements increasing in these 15-1 classes, I think that should be looked at. In addition, I found that the curriculum that's being used in those classes is an alternative curriculum. And so students that are placed in those programs are really not getting access to that general education curriculum. That also is a really big emphasis in the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, is that access point. So important to look at. When I spoke with teachers, it was pretty clear, both general education teachers and special ed teachers wanting more PD training support. General education teachers, don't feel really equipped to support kids with disabilities in their classrooms alone, and that the general sense I get is that they need to have that support be provided by someone else that's in the classroom or outside of the classroom. And with the parents' feedback that we got from the surveys, there was an overarching emphasis from all of the information collected that parents are really looking for more frequent and improved communications so that they know how to best support their child when they come home, when they receive the services at school. More key findings. With regards to with time and meeting structures, there's, I think, a big concern with a North Syracuse practice that's been going on here for as long as people can remember, which is called the CERT meetings. And those are meetings that occur, most of the time they're just weekly meetings that are happening in buildings, all the buildings, where the director of special education will come to those meetings, chair those meetings, and then they'll have staff having discussions about what they should be recommending for kids with disabilities, or what they should be doing with regards to that. And that's really consuming a ton of time for that. The teachers are being pulled from classrooms, time away from students. Therapists are being pulled from therapy sessions to be in these meetings. And directors and principals are, being pulled to do this type of micromanagement versus other forms of instructional leadership. I think more concerning to that, though, is with the CERT process, is what's occurring in some of these meetings can be perceived as like a CSE meeting without a parent being present. And that's problematic, and that places the district at risk, I think. Resource room is there's increasing trends for more and more kids being recommended for resource room support in the past few years in North Syracuse. There was not too long ago that there were no resource room classes in the elementary schools, and now those are growing numbers accordingly. And also the numbers are growing in the secondary schools. The issue with that is that there doesn't seem to be a clear criteria, clear vision of when it's appropriate for kids to be recommending resource room versus them being supported in other ways, or ways that they're already being supported through, like consultant teacher services or co-teaching services. And then what happens practically is that you have teachers have classes, resource classes with students in them, and they're all having different needs. And so a resource room teacher has trouble working with 5 different kids when they all have 5 different IEP goals, and they only have 40 minutes to do that time. Additionally, it creates issues where the staffing of the special teachers' time, their schedules, and has to be increased to do more and more resource room time to cover those needs, which takes away from their time that they could be in general education classrooms supporting kids with disabilities. There are notable, I'm sorry, I'm going really fast. But I just am excited about this stuff. And, but there are some special classes in the secondary schools that have very low enrollment, and the teacher staffing is being underutilized because of that. And I think there's some ways that that can be easily addressed. And lastly, there was noted that special ed teachers in the secondary schools really, a lot of their schedule gets pushed into doing more duties and general education type activities. And special ed teachers, like, they're such great resources. They have so much knowledge and skills to have their time being taken away to do other things outside of special education. I think, that's just of note that I think could be looked at. These are the last of the key findings. First is under the leadership structure, which I think everyone's aware of in terms of the current leaders, 3 directors of special education, each having their own kind of silos or departments of what they work with or what schools they work in. And there's no person that oversees the entirety of the programs from preschool to 12th grade, as well as the outside programs and everything that encompasses special education. And without that leadership, it becomes problematic. There doesn't have really a coherence of a plan with the district, a vision of how the services in North Syracuse, how they should look in special education. There should be someone that's looking at the entire scope of a child and their programming from the second they start school to the minute they walk that stage and graduate. Having school psychologists chair local CSE meetings is a very positive step that's just started occurring this year, and I think that's fantastic, and that's just, I think you want to continue to foster and grow that, because that's really important for local CSE meetings to occur without having directors of special education chairing all of those meetings. Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act, that's that's a huge thing here. Obviously, you're a very large school district. You have over 500 students that have 504 plans in the district, and that the coordination of that, the requirement is pretty significant, and that the need to support that is really high, and yet there's different leadership structures that's a little bit unclear on who does what with regards to 504. And with the North Syracuse Early Education Program, the leadership of that program is titled as a principal. However, she has both building principal type responsibilities, but also really has special education administration responsibilities. And I think some of that leads to the staff in that school report feeling somewhat left out of district level initiatives. And I think that having the role of principalship without having other areas of input to the district level kind of is creating some of those separations. And then lastly, with regards to the preschoolers and as they transition to kindergarten, the process that goes through for that is pretty intense. There's 3 meetings that occur. There's a preschool meeting that occurs with a parent that just recommends services for their child for the July and August before they enter into school age. And then another meeting occurs after that where the staff of the North Syracuse Early Education Program meet with the buildings, like this building psychologist, to transfer information about students that are transitioning. And then a third meeting occurs where it's a CSC, the Committee on Special Education meets to make recommendations for the fall. So the parents have to come in for 2 meetings for that to happen. There's a lot of processing that goes through all of that, and that can be kind of cumbersome. I made a couple more recommendations with the preschool to kindergarten, but I'm going to kind of go right over to recommendations now. And with my recommendations, I think when we look at this, we should be looking at what's most important, what should happen first and foremost. And in my view, addressing the 3 items on the systems and structure side first can really help with the lead into helping to make recommendations and supporting moving forward with these other pieces. So first is that elimination of the CERT process. I think that it should happen as quickly as possible, and that instead of having CERT meetings in schools, that the function of a lot of that can move over to the MTSS plan that the district has initiated and the student support teams looking at students and making recommendations as to when students might need to be referred to the Committee on Special Education. And second, most important would be the looking at, and I think you're already in process with this, which is awesome, having a role of an administrator at the district office that has the oversight of the entirety of the special education programs and services here in North Syracuse. So from preschool to 12th grade, 1 director or executive director or whatever you want to call it, that has responsibilities to lead the district in terms of what's best for cohesiveness of programs, what's a vision for the programs, and communicating that out to families and staff. So you'd have an executive director, and underneath that, you would have an administrator that has the responsibilities, and then underneath that, you would have 2 directors of special education, one that would do the elementary and one that would do the secondary. And then underneath that, you could look at having the supports through the district, looking at maybe coordination of 504, the preschool, the school age transition process. But having those layers is really important and helpful in terms of leadership and how you can get things done, but also really promote building level leadership teams that can do a lot of the work themselves with the support of special education directors. Third is the 504 oversight, moving that sort of out of special education and into another general education type role, because 504 isn't special education, it's general education. And the coordination of that is pretty significant. And to support that, with the district your size and the number of students you have with 504 plans, the creation of a 504 coordinator to really work on that would be, I think, very important and very appropriate to do in the district. So with those three recommendations there, you're looking at really the ability to take away a lot of the micromanagement type tasks of the special education administration in North Syracuse. There'd be no more CERT meetings for them to attend. There would be less CSE meetings for them to attend, and also no more 504 meetings for them to, and I shouldn't say attend, I'm talking about chair those meetings. And with that, then that frees up, especially with that overarching director's role, the ability to then focus in on doing things that are really going to help support the inclusive programs that you have, as well as the special class programs and resource programs in the district. You know, working with teams to create criterias on when resource room is really a good recommendation for students and when you should be looking at other things. Looking at the self-contained classrooms at the secondary school and seeing if there's ways that they can be combined or maximized for effectiveness. I think there's ways to effectively support the staffing of those classrooms with what you have, but also really expand the support for the students that are in those programs. Then there's really a need for the student supports in general education classrooms to have a plan that really moves from building to building and transfers so that students are receiving comparable services as they go from middle school or from elementary to middle school and the middle school to junior high and high school. And that the blended program service, that's a North Syracuse program, a local program that you have, that you can look at that and see, you know, how can we make this so it's really a cohesive plan for students as they go through the grade levels. And with what I mentioned before with consultant teacher direct services, I would recommend that the district look at adding integrated co-teaching as one of those program service options for students, and that we, in fact, try and replace much of the consultant teacher direct services over to integrated co-teaching services. It's a stronger model of inclusive support that supports all the students of the classroom, and it's really what I think a lot of the teachers are already doing here in North Syracuse, but let's call it what it is. You know, if we expect them to be co-teaching, let's have them be co-teaching and call it co-teaching. And lastly is to really devise professional learning for our general education teachers as well as our special education teachers, looking at coaching supports for our special ed teachers, and devising a communication strategy for families. I think obviously, as the thought exchange really showed, is that there are parents that really are looking for more communication. So let's create ways that we can really enhance that in the district. So that's my presentation. I'm sorry I talked fast, but again, I was trying to get through this for you guys. I know you have a long night. Do you have any questions or anything?
No question? All right, thank you.
The only thing I would like to say, you know, publicly about this subject is Katie and Sarah are in the back of the room there, and they couldn't have been more supportive during the audit, really working with Rocco to uncover some of the things that we need to uncover in order to support our kids the best way possible. So I just want to thank you, and I want to thank Rocco too for coming in and you know, working with all of our staff and things like that. When we first had a meeting about this audit, we didn't really know where it was going to go, and the fact that Rocco really kept coming back to me and saying, we need to talk to this person, we need to talk to these people, we need to talk to these people. It just showed his commitment to really kind of getting it right as far as what's going on in our district. And so thank you, Rocco, for that.
Thank you. Yes.
Excuse me, something not jumped out at me, but I'm curious. It's back on slide 4. Third bullet point on the right about the secondary contractual language. Can you just give me an example of that, or maybe not an example, but that's not something that's specific to the special ed staff there.
I think it is. I mean, Terry, my understanding is that
I'm reading that like special ed teachers have a lot of general ed duties.
that their schedule, the way the high school teachers reported to me was that they teach a limited number of sections in special education, and that a big chunk of the hours of their day are doing like call duties or duties that are not related to anything with students with disabilities in the school.
Not unique, but specific to the special ed secondary level?
I think so. I mean, that's, no,
Yeah, I'm not sure.
That's how I'm reading that.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I think I read in the report that, you know, that specific piece was around, they like their duties to be maybe in special education. So maybe providing, you know, test read or something like that, that a student with disabilities would need in order to take a test. That's something that they'd like to see, those types of duties part of what they would do to support their kids. So other than the bathroom duty.
right, yeah,
So-
that's exactly what they're, because in addition to the teaching their schedule, there's other things that they have to do with special ed teachers, which include progress monitoring students on their IEP goals, providing testing accommodations to students like extra time, things along, and blanking on the third thing. Oh, they have to do testing. They actually, you know, when kids every 3 years have to be reevaluated for special education, and that requires a lot of time too. And so those things, instead of them being able to take other parts of the day to do those tasks, they have to take their time out of their teaching time to do those pieces instead.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move into our comments from the audience section of the meeting. We do have one signed up tonight. So Tom Feeney, welcome.
Good evening. Thank you for your time and consideration. Tonight I'll be speaking against the potential for a physical education opt-out for varsity student athletes. My name is Thomas Feeney. I'm a retired physical education teacher here in the district. I taught at CNS High School for 25 years. I went to school here at Bessie Reardon, Smith Road, Gillette Road Middle School, Cicero High School, and then the first graduating class of CNS High School in 1984. Still reside in the district at this time. I'm very involved in the district as much as I can. Still, I show up a lot to a lot of contests. My biggest role models were my physical education teachers from elementary school all the way through high school. Their influence led me to a career as a physical education teacher. I'm very concerned with the idea of physical education opt-out for varsity athletics. Been brought up again. We fought this in the past. Physical education program at the high school introduces a wide variety of lifetime activities. The activities expose all students to a variety of lifelong activities that will lead them to mental health and physical health throughout their lifetime. Varsity athletics do, to a limited extent, expose students to this. However, varsity coaches are not physical education teachers. They're not fully trained. In our district, there are 34 varsity sports. Only 11 are head coached by a physical education team. 5 of those sports are coached by non-teachers at all. So therefore, they are not trained to cover lifetime health and mental health issues. As a retired physical education teacher, I fought this issue in the past. There are many classroom management issues the district officials do not understand or take into account when making a decision on physical education opt-out. What do we do? Students that are not in a physical education class? Put them in an already overcrowded study hall? Send them home. Probably an unsupervised setting due to most parents having to work. Also, we're putting them into a non-educational setting. These options help the overall education of our students, have them, as I said, in a non-educational area. gonna decide, or who's gonna monitor playing the two varsity sports? That doesn't complete a season. One by the coach, they become ineligible, they decide that the sport's not for them and they quit the team. Not participating in two varsity athletics. Have to decide in the fall, how do you decide if a student's going to play two varsity sports? Will they make the team in the spring or winter if they play a fall sport? So on. Many, many more issues that I don't have time in my 3 minutes with the bell going out. So I will wrap up. The bottom line of the North Syracuse Central School District is to produce well-rounded, educated students. The physical education opt-out policy in no way benefits any student's overall educational experience. It is a poorly thought-out policy to save money. I encourage this board to vote against any type of physical education opt-out policy. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Board of Education Committee reports. Mr. Thorne.
Thank you, Mike. We have a policy committee meeting tomorrow at 5 via Zoom due to pre-K or kindergarten registration here. So that will be held via Zoom again tomorrow at 5. Thank you.
Crabtree.
Good evening. We met on January 7th, Legislative Committee, which is made up of staff and our legislators. Great presentation by budget assumptions. And thank you for that. Bill spoke about registration students on the committee, and I also want to thank a lot of the students at the high school who brought up some really great topics that I wasn't aware of, and I'm glad the superintendent and others got a chance to hear that. Dates coming up. As you know, the Capitol Conference is going to be February 6th, 8:30 to 12:30. I know Paul and I will be on virtual. And just let me read what this consists of. To join a morning education program to gain perspective on proposed legislative and spending priorities. The agenda will include an in-depth review of the governor's executive budget, discussions with legislators and state policymakers, and the New York School Boards Association staff members to help prepare us to advocate on the behalf of our school community. So if you're interested, please let Mrs. Herrera know. I believe there's no cost to our district for that. And you will get the link for the virtual. Very important meeting. And I know, Paul, you are going to go to Albany. So on the 11th, it's called Lobby Day. And what Paul does, he goes, he hears some more information from the School Boards Association, and then he goes and meets with our legislators. Paul, do you want to say anything else about that?
Not that specifically, but just to go back to the Capitol Conference. You know, because there's no cost, I encourage you, even if you have a block of that time and you want to, you know, if you can't commit to the whole thing, try and jump into some of it. It is very interesting, and they do what's out at the time from the governor.
Thanks, Paul. Other dates coming up. It's coming up tomorrow, I believe, the governor's state of the state speech. So it'll be interesting what Governor Hochul talks about with education, with the executive budget. Our next meeting, we are going to invite the director of the Central New York School Boards Association to come meet with us. And our next meeting is February 4th. Thank you for the time.
Dr. Ward.
Thank you, Mike. Just had a couple of quick things. I wanted to say the although the School of Rock was sticking it to the man. I don't know who the man is, but it was a wonderful performance on Friday night by our junior high kids, and my whole family really enjoyed it. So that was nice to see and go to. And then Saturday, I wanted to mention some of you were able to make it. The Lego League competition at Roxborough Road Middle School was a huge success. And I do want, there's many people that make that work. But Jason Clark was setting up late Friday, getting there at 6 a.m. Saturday, and he texted me at 7 p.m. at night, and he said he's leaving the parking lot. So it's great for us to host, that type of event, and it's great to see kids that are really excited about robotics and things like that. So that was a big event. Jason estimated about 1,000 people were there throughout the day. So it was just nice. It was a nice event for everyone. So thanks, Mike.
Board comments.
On Saturday, I attended the Salt City Diving Invitational, where our divers placed first and second, the top two divers of the meet, both also qualifying for states. So congratulations to Nate Ornosky and Chris Kogel. I assume it has something to do with superior coaching.
Competition. This was a OCM BOCES, so that's why I'm going to talk about. It was an OCM BOCES event that there was not just our two teams from Rocks Middle and two from Gillette. We had teams from Cortland and Homer and Lafayette and JD and ESM. And yes, thank you to Jason Clark for being the host. Thank you, Dr. Veal, for coming and visiting some of your old OCs. And Dr. Cook, our superintendent, was there, and many OCM BOCES administrators. But a special thank you to Roxborough Middle School PTG. They offered refreshments. They gave me coffee to keep me awake. And I have heard nothing but positive comments about the rooms and so forth. So I hope that we go for it again next year, because all I heard was positive stuff. And I will hear more on Thursday from our team from BOCES. I was able to attend an indoor track meet at OCC 2 weeks ago. We have both a great girls and boys team. It's amazing at OCC to see. And we have some really top young ladies and boys. So our indoor track team is doing well. I too went to the School of Rock musical at the junior high and sat with the wonderful family, the Ward family. Kudos to John Halpin. He was the director. And also we always got to thank Mr. Nadler and the custodian staff and security. They were all there to make it a safe, great program.
Bridget.
I am happy to report that our CNS student government presented our Pages Pajama check on December 19th, and that total came out to $10,000, $388.70, which is amazing. That was a great help. I'm so proud of us. Modified winter sports started last week, and I think we're off to a good start. Our Festival of Nations is February 4th, and there's more to come on that. It's a great celebration of all the cultures and diversity that CNS offers, and it's really amazing. And also, February 3rd, our CNS Principals Cabinet is hosting our Hoops for Hope through Griffin's Guardians. And I would like us to ask you to donate a basket, as you guys did last year. It was really amazing. And it's going to be a great event this year, and it went so great last year too. And lastly, our Optimist essay competition, those essays are due this Friday. And I believe it's grades 6 through 12, right, Mr. Crabtree? 8 through 12. And so that's a great opportunity as well for all of our students. I know that most of the English teachers at the high school mentioned it already, and there's more to come on the oratorical competition, which is further back in March. Thank you.
Thank you. Then to routine action items, the consideration of approval of the minutes from December 15th. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes? Paul and Mandy, any questions or comments? All those in favor? I'll take B and C together as a group, the consideration of the classification and placement of students. Do I have a motion to accept those together? Mark and Cheryl, any questions? All those in favor? Next, we have a consideration for a contract award. Quite a big difference in the price here. So do I have a motion to accept those two contracts? Andy and Josh, any questions? Those in favor? We have a resolution approving an agreement with Solient Health LLC for related services. Motion to approve that agreement. Mark and Josh, any?
So that's a great question. So there are times with related service providers, especially this school year, we've had trouble finding them. So we contract with outside organizations, outside vendors, and this is one of them. We've approved a few other times previously this school year, other vendors, and this is along the same line. So this provides us with some more flexibility of getting those important services for our students.
Thank you. All those in favor? Next, we have a motion to approve the tax collection procedures. Do I have a motion to place that before us? Mark? Josh, any questions? All those in favor? Next, we have two gifts. We have a $1,000 donation from Stewart's to support the Gillette Road Middle School Outdoor Recreation Project. Have a $200 gift card from Wegmans for teachers' refreshments at the Roxborough Road Middle School prior to holiday break. So do I have a motion to acknowledge with gratitude those gifts? All? Any questions, comments?
I just want to make sure this is separate than the one that we did at the last meeting, right? Because they gave us a gift at the last meeting as well. They are two, so it's $2,000 total. That's the way I understood it when I read it. I just out of curiosity, sorry. There was a gift from Stewart's in December as well. Oh, I guess I'm the only one who was awake during break.
Josh, I'm sorry, was that Stewart's or Wegmans that you were asking about?
Stewart's, yeah.
Stewart's, okay.
Which, I mean, it's fine. I would love that we were getting multiple donations, but I just was curious because I thought that, maybe I missed something.
We'll have to get that back to
Yes.
tomorrow.
I will still,
Yeah.
Accept the gift, of course.
Yeah.
Obviously, in case anyone was.
Gotcha. Don, I'll get back to you on that. Yeah. Thank you.
All those in favor? Have a appointment to the Rocco to that position. Do I have a motion for that? Josh, any questions or comments? Next, we have a resolution to approve the Roxborough Road Middle School installation project. Do I have a motion to approve that resolution? Mark and Josh, any questions, comments? All those in favor? Next, we've got a resolution to approve an access CNY ABA services. Motion to put that before us. Josh, second. Andy, any questions or comments? We move into personnel. I want to acknowledge retirement. We've got Charles Yonko, an associate principal at the junior high school, is retiring with 19.1 years of service. So as always, we wish him a long, happy, and healthy retirement and thank him for his service. We need an executive session before we take personnel items A, B, or C. Do I have a motion to accept personnel A as submitted? Bob, second. Mark, any questions or comments? Favor? Motion to accept personnel support staff B as submitted. Carol, Mandy, any questions or comments? All those in favor? And do I have a motion to accept administrative personnel report C as submitted? Mr. Crabtree and Paul, any questions or comments on this one? All those in favor? Okay. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to move into executive session for the purpose of reviewing one personnel matter with potential action to follow. Can I have a second? Bob, any questions? Thank you.